only because I have enough experience, not because I'm a good trader. But my opinion on what's likely to happen or not is, I don't think, worth more than anybody else's. And in fact, a lot of traders I interview will tell you that they're not in the prediction game at all anyway. They're just trying to assess what the market's going to do here and now, and they have a plan for getting out quickly if they're wrong. And that's more important than a grand prediction.
What are, aside from sort of the successful traits, any thoughts on sort of what made some of these traders go through these periods of inevitable underperformance? Were there any common mistakes that were made during those chapters?
Yeah, I mean, there is certainly a common mistake. The most common mistake among the traders I interviewed, which are some of the greatest traders, as well as most people, is the same mistake. And that's a failure of risk management, or an absence of risk management in many cases. And if you read through the books, you'll see that where these traders experienced their early woes, in those cases where they did, it inevitably comes down to a grand failure of risk management. Sometimes having everything bet on one trade, things of that nature, which of course they would never do at this point in their career, but in the early days they did do. And I think amateur traders, that's the greatest danger too, is that they don't think about risk management. They have positions that are too large. They don't have a plan for what to do if they're wrong. They don't realize that the impossible often happens in markets. They say, well, the market can't go below this level. Well, sure it can. And it can go to half of that. And it can go to half of that. And these things happen. And so that is the greatest commonality and weakness in terms of failure. If you look under most failures, somewhere the explanation will come down to a failure of risk management in one way or another.
Although in fairness, and as frustrating as it's been, it's just been fact. I mean, that risk management, you can argue, has been outsourced to the Fed, right? I mean, that was the whole buy the dip, idea for a long time. Now you can argue that that's not there anymore. We'll see, but presumably risk management when you're dealing with averages matters less than when dealing with individual stocks.
Well, I think risk management works on two levels. I mean, it works on individual positions and it works on your portfolio as a whole. So those are two levels of it, both of which are important. So you can address risk management. I mean, presumably you can address risk management on a position by position, but still fail on a portfolio level if, let's say, your positions are super correlators, thing like that. I guess if you deal with it at a portfolio level, there's a limit how much you can do. So, but to really deal with it on a portfolio level, you do also have to go to a position level. I don't know if that answers the question.
What I'm really going with that is that, I mean, look, the ultimate risk is risk of ruin, which is basically a company going bankrupt and the equity going to zero. Like it's happening.
On any individual, right. So anything can happen in an individual position, which comes down to one piece of advice you'll see repeated multiple times throughout the books is this idea of limiting the risk on any single position, because you don't know. You just don't know what can happen. And crazy things can happen that are just unpredictable and they may not be your fault, So the trade may make all the sense and you may have made all the right decisions, but something out of the blue happens that just, wipes out that trade. And it's nothing you could have foreseen. And you may even have had a stop, and maybe the market, because this happens, the market opens way beyond the stop. So that's why you don't want to have any position too large and any single position too large. And also, of course, you want to have a theoretical point at which you'll be out of that position.
I wonder if you think in 10 years, 20 years, there's going to be a whole new group of market wizards that have nothing to do with